Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 10 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, we debuted Wolfe Glick's brand new Sun team, featuring a lot of fun stuff like Cherrim as well as Groudon, so we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. And yeah, I think, Wolfe's team already is really popular, but as I mentioned, the Cherrim Entei Groudon kind of core is actually a pretty popular archetype. I've seen a lot of high-level players use it recently, so this is something you should prepare for, and something that you should anticipate to see in the upcoming weeks. Before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by Into the AM. They're a super awesome apparel company. They make all kinds of different clothes. I'm actually wearing one of their t-shirts right now. This is a graphic tee from them. And they make all kinds of different clothes, like I mentioned, ranging from t-shirts to hoodies to joggers. I personally really love their graphic tees, and I'm currently at their website at intotheam.com/cybervgc. If you go to that link, you'll automatically have 10% applied for your order, or you can use code cybervgc when you're checking out. Like I said, their graphic tees are super cool. They always come up with new designs. Actually, every time I do a video for them, it feels like they have like 10 new designs on the website, which is super, super cool. So you can see all the different kind of t-shirts that they have here. These are their best sellers, and they're all around $25.95 per t-shirt. They currently have a deal where you can get 3 graphic tees for $60. And if you actually spend above $75, you'll get free shipping on your order as well. So check them out, linked in the description below. I've linked my favorite t-shirts and products from them down in the description below. And thanks to them for continuing to support the channel. Alright, first game of the day, and it's a Reshiram. Wow. Okay, that's really neat. Reshiram. I feel like Cherrim's pretty good here just for the stat increases, so I'm pretty down for that. Because they have no ground resist or immunes, so we can really take advantage of that. So honestly, I feel like the goal is to set up Trick Room and then just try to sweep with Groudon under Trick Room. I don't like game 1 yesterday. I have to respect Taunt from Lele, though, is the thing. But I think, like, Incin, Dusclops, Cherrim, Groudon is just very good here. You could make a pretty good argument for Entei. Zapdos is, like, okay, but it gets kind of wrecked by Reshiram, so I don't really want to bring that here. But it's just cool to see a Reshiram team, right? He's not very common in the format. So, yeah, just get into the first game. Thanks so much, as always, for watching Road to Rank. If you enjoyed, please show your support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And thanks once again to Into the AM for sponsoring today's video. Check out my favorite products from them down in the description below. And yeah, let's get started. It's going to be a Rillaboom plus the Reshiram. Okay. I mean, it's a pretty free fake out Trick Room turn 1, that's for sure. Yeah, if you're my opponent, you probably pivot out into the Mimikyu right now, but Mimikyu's not that scary, because I can just Parting Shot Nightshade it. Magnet and Psychic Seed. Oh, you know what they can do? Is they can pivot out into Lele to deny me fake out. That's actually pretty likely, I feel like, right now. But it doesn't matter, right? Even if you deny me fake out, you can't deny Trick Room on turn 1. So I'm still just gonna fake out into Reshiram and Trick Room. I don't care if you do damage, as long as you don't KO Dusclops, that's what matters. Okay, yeah, they don't switch out. What I didn't want to do was read too hard into the Lele switch in and then just lose Dusclops to a double up on turn 1. That would be really bad, so yeah. Because I feel like Trick Room is just the main win con against my opponent's team, and what I didn't want was to get doubled up into Dusclops and then like get crit or something and then actually just get KO'd. Because it's like, now, okay, well, I get Trick Room up. Reshiram's not really that scary, and now that you've pivoted Incineroar in, I can get my Groudon in. And if Groudon's out, well, it just spams Precipice Blades. So, not a bad turn 1. Turn 2, fake out onto Incineroar, decently likely. I am down to just Parting Shot here into the Incineroar and go for a Nightshade onto... Pain Split does heal us a little bit. Nah. Oh, actually, even the smallest amount of chip on Incineroar while healing Dusclops I think is valuable. And I guess there's a chance Dusclops switches, so I'm fine playing Pain Splitting. Now, interestingly enough, oh, I have to be very careful here, don't I? And yeah, that looks like Nightshade damage output. What I have to be careful about here is actually switching in Groudon, because there's a chance they just dual Fire type attack into my Incineroar right now. I don't think it'd KO Groudon, but I don't think I can actually take that risk, so as much as this pains me, Groudon's the main win con, so I actually have to throw out Cherrim here. I should have Parting Shot it into Reshiram, then I could have made this play with full confidence, or like my previous play with full confidence. Yeah, they're gonna Blitz into Cherrim, well done. This is exactly why I couldn't switch out Groudon. This matchup is pretty bad for them, so... Oh, and it's Heat Wave. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this matchup is bad for them, so they have to make like plays like that to win, right? And that was a really good play, honestly. Heat Wave is also cool to confirm. But the thing is, now I get Groudon out. So if you're my opponent, you need to switch out that Incineroar into Regieleki and protect the Reshiram right now. What I can do then is basically put on more fake out pressure by withdrawing the Dusclops out into the Incineroar. Because then, even if you sack a Lecky and you bring your Incin back in, well, my Incin can just click fake out onto the Reshiram. That was a very good play by them, though, last turn. And I think if I went Parting Shot into Reshiram, we would take a Heat Wave and a Flare Blitz even in the sun. Nice read, though. Very nicely done. And this is the mark of a good player when they recognize the matchup is tricky. And so they go for big plays like that. They weren't at much risk either, right? It's not like my Incineroar or Dusclops are doing any damage in that position. And even if I just stay in with Incineroar, well, I just don't accomplish anything damage-wise for the turn. Now, what's interesting here is that they didn't protect the Incineroar, probably because they expect it to be faster, but we're Iron Ball. So if we connect here, we're in amazing shape. Okay, nice. And they're not Shuka. Perfect. That's amazing, yeah, because now they don't get to cycle and Intimidate or Fake Out. And that puts us in a very, very good spot, I would say. Because Incineroar in the sun actually puts on really good damage output into my opponent's team as well. So I like our spot right now. And there's Lele. But here's the thing, right? Like, my opponent just has no ground switch-ins right now. The main scary thing is potentially missing Precipice Blade. So now I have the debate, like, instead of Precipice Blading, do I maybe actually want to Heat Crash Lele? I think the answer is no, to be honest. We still have 2 turns of Trick Room and an Incineroar, or sorry, a Dusclops in the back. The key thing here is that Reshiram protected last turn. I am down to just Precipice Blades here. I'm down for Snarl. I think he'll finish things off if anything survives. Yeah, Reshiram switches out. That makes sense. Okay, that means you give up your boost, though. Lele does not protect and Precipice Blades. Fortunately for us, double connects. Okay, great. Snarl might actually miss the KO here, though, so Flare Blitz may have been better. Okay, it does get the knockout. Nice. That was a little bit risky because I can miss Snarl, but I figured there was... Well, actually, Reshiram's not surviving a Precipice Blades, is it? I don't think so. It's just a tough matchup for Reshiram here, quite frankly. Psychic Terrain is still up. It's the last turn of Trick Room. What we can do is just Blades here and then hard switch Incineroar out into Dusclops. And then the next turn, just switch Groudon out into Incineroar and Trick Room. Groudon should take an attack from Reshiram anyway. I'm just playing around a potential critical hit, but they end up just forfeiting. Yeah, to be honest, I mean, this is the downside of Reshiram. I think its matchup into Groudon, unfortunately, is terrible, truth be told. And their team didn't have great answers into Groudon either. Like, it was very easy for Groudon to play the game because they didn't have much super effective damage to actually threaten the Groudon. So or any resists, right? So it was like, as long as we get Groudon in, they have no counterplay to Precipice Blades. I think the Iron Ball was probably what swung this battle, though, because I'm guessing they didn't know we're Iron Ball, so they were expecting Incineroar to Parting Shot into the Groudon, pivot out, get Lele in, and then we, are at -1 attack and we do substantially less damage. But the fact that we were able to outspeed them under Trick Room means we get that knockout. Suddenly, when you can't decrease Groudon's attack, it just completely sweeps in that endgame. The main thing we had to do in this game was not carelessly switching Groudon. Had I switched it in the turn I brought Cherrim in, things could have actually gotten really ugly really quickly. So didn't want to, like, that's a good way to mitigate risk, right? Where it's like, okay, Groudon's clearly my win condition. Let me just find the safest opportunity to get it in and then go from there. So fun first game. Really cool to go up against a Reshiram team. I think, yeah, like, as you try to use the restricteds that are not as common, it does become a little bit more matchup based because some of them are like really poor into some of the most common restricteds. Now, Groudon's kind of just outside of the top tier right now, it feels like. You've got Kyogre, you got Calyrex, you got Zacian, you got Xerneas. Those feel like the big four. And then Groudon basically feels like it's kind of in the next tier. Like, maybe in its own separate tier, I'm not sure. I haven't really thought too much about it, but like Groudon, Yveltal, what else? Eternatus. Those are all things that I think would maybe fall below in terms of pure usage rate, right? And things can be a little bit more matchup oriented. So yeah, fun first game though, and let's look for another one. Next game of the day, and Calyrex Shadow Rider. Okay, that's 5 for 5 on new restricteds, right? Because it was Zacian, into Calyrex Ice, into Yveltal, into Reshiram, into Calyrex Shadow Rider. So really fun run with this team so far in terms of just playing all these different restricted teams. So I really like that, especially on Road to Rank, where it's like, you know, the goal is to just try to feature as many different teams as possible, but it's always fun to go up against different archetypes as well. Now, granted, I'd love to go up against just 4 Zacian teams, because, you know, then it's easier for us to probably win, but then it's probably a little bit less entertaining. And yeah, you know, I think it's, especially in a format like this, right, you really want to test your teams against all the restricted archetypes, not just one. So, Calyrex Shadow Rider here. Now, this is where Incineroar is really, Entei is really valuable, because we have Dark type damage. It's probably Entei, Dusclops, Incin, and Groudon. I just really want to bring Cherrim. Like, yeah. I don't know, I guess Cherrim does, like, make Precipice Blade so darn strong. That's the thing. But the reason I like Entei plus Dusclops is I pressure with a Dark type damage into Calyrex immediately. Okay, you know what? My gut tells me Incineroar, but my heart tells me Cherrim. And I know Incineroar is the right Pokemon to bring here, but I'm gonna bring Cherrim because it's Cherrim and it's cool. Now, yeah, I mean, objectively, I think Incineroar is the better Pokemon into this matchup, but Cherrim being able to increase Groudon's damage up and under Trick Room is pretty sick. And this is the lead I was expecting, honestly, Whim plus Calyrex. So what I can do turn 1 is you can't cover for both, unless you're Choice Scarf. Choice Scarf Helping Hand is what I'm most nervous about right now. But the play I want to make turn 1 is just Crunch into Trick Room. You can't cover for both of those. Full Incense. Life Orb. Well, it's good to know they have Full Incense. We never would have found that out otherwise. Don't think it changes my turn 1 play, though. Full Incense actually makes this a lot harder, though. Okay, so they just go for the switcheroo. But they don't respect the Choice Scarf. Good game. And this is why you can Choice Scarf Entei is a beast. But this is what I meant with this lead, though, right? If you go Whimsicott plus Calyrex, you cannot cover for both of those options on turn 1. You either protect, you either Tailwind Astral Barrage. That's fine. Dusclops might even survive Life Orb Astral Barrage, actually. It's just such a bulky Pokemon. And then I would still KO your Calyrex, or you protect Calyrex and I get Trick Room up. Both are pretty good outcomes, I would say. Now we are in a slightly weird position, right? Because you can Meteor Beam. But I don't really care if you Meteor Beam Groudon. So I'm just going to switch Entei out into Groudon directly right now. Honestly, a double switch might be warranted here. No. We don't need to switch into Cherrim immediately, because what I can do is Nightshade first and then switch out into Cherrim turn 2. Okay. Anyway, I called the game, so I need to make sure I don't lose the game now. I mean, they just don't have a restricted Pokemon anymore. Unless they have Grass Knot on Whimsicott and they read the switch. It's like the one thing I didn't consider. Oh, their Whimsicott might have Trick Room as well. Even if they do, though, I don't see how you deal damage in a Groudon right now. It probably does have Trick Room, to be honest. Okay. I don't love that. Okay, they just Moonblast, though. That's very good. Nice. Groudon hangs on. There's Nightshade. Cool. Now Ego does get access to Trick Room, but having it feels very unlikely to me. I'm honestly willing to just press Blades here and switch Dusclops out into Cherrim. The only risk is I actually risk missing Precipice Blades in this position, so I don't love that. So this isn't a guaranteed win because we can miss, and that is always the downside of Precipice Blades. But I have to cover for Whimsicott protecting, and now Ego actually attacking here. Okay, now Ego protects, but with Flower Gift, I think Groudon should survive a Moonblast anyway. And Precipice Blades might just KO with the attack boost as well. So let's see. Okay, we connect. Nice. That was a critical hit. I mean, I'm gonna do the calc after this game. Their Whimsicott didn't look like it had any HP investment, so I don't think it mattered. And even if they survive, I don't think Moonblast is actually KOing Groudon from the range that we're at. We do have Rillaboom as their 4th, though. Oh, but we can just Solar Blade now, right? You can't beat both of my Pokemon. You're probably just gonna click Fake Out into Groudon. But at this point, I think they need to make desperate plays, so I'm fine to just Precipice Blades and go for Solar Blade into Now Ego. Because you can't cover for both, the damage output from both. They brought the best 4 Pokemon here in the endgame, though. And it's going to be Glide into Groudon. Okay. That's fine, because if Now Ego, like, well, we'll see how much our good old buddy Cherrim does here with Solar Blade. It is Grassy Terrain boosted. Base 125, is it? And that's such a weird base number. Oh, that is so satisfying. Cherrim gets 1 KO. Yeah, my opponent definitely could have came back there if I like got greedy and protected something, but now you just can't beat the Entei. One thing I haven't done super well with this team yet, by the way, is have Entei out in the sun, but then use Entei offensively with Cherrim out next to it rather than Groudon. The whole time I've been playing with this team, it's just been Cherrim enabling the Groudon, but I should use Cherrim to enable Entei as well, because that can deal ridiculous damage. You can just Blitz here, and yeah, base 125 is such a weird base number. I feel like, because almost every move is like, yeah, multiple of 10. Trying to think what other moves in VGC. Oh, no, I mean, you have like base 95, 85, but I don't know. I'm just used to like 120 or 130 for an attack like that. Either way, I mean, like, yeah, it was going to be tough for my opponent to win the game with the leads, and yeah, I kind of just expected them to go win plus Calyrex, but even if they didn't, I think we just had a pretty favorable matchup because they don't have great Trick Room answers. And so even if you like don't lead with the Calyrex or protect Calyrex turn 1, your Groudon answers are pretty bad, especially if Trick Room goes up. So I am going to quickly calc the Precipice Blades into Whimsicott because I'm very curious about that. So let me pull up the calc. Nightshade did a lot of damage. I don't think they had any bulk on the Whimsicott, so yeah, I'm super curious. Like, they were clearly just not expecting the Scarf turn 1 and just went all in trying to one-shot the Dusclops turn 1. And if I'm not Scarf, that makes a lot of sense, because then it paves the way for your endgame. But that's the thing about Calyrex, right? You feint to a lot of just 4x super effective attacks, even from a non-restricted, making it pretty tricky, like, restricted Pokemon to execute. So, yeah. Let's pull up the calc real quick. So looking at the calc here, Precipice Blades does 58 to 68% when you have Flower Gift up, right? This is against Whimsicott with no bulk, but I don't think they really had bulk. Like, you would really want to run max speed, and that first Nightshade did a lot. So if you only have like 4 HP EVs or no HP EVs, right, 136 minus 50 is 86. So we need to do 86 or more to pick up the knockout there, and that is going to be a KO 9/16 of the time. And here's the thing, right? Moonblast here, when you have Flower Gift up, only does 42 to 51, and I double checked and we were at 58 there. So yeah, Moonblast was not going to KO even if the Whimsicott survived the turn. And if Whimsicott survives, well then the next turn I can just go for Precipice Blades once again. So yeah, I was mainly curious if Precipice Blades was going to KO the Whimsicott because I thought it would, but yeah, it is a damage roll that's just ever so slightly in our favor. But of course, when you factor in the chance to miss as well, it's basically a coin flip that turn. So yeah. Either way, though, Groudon, once again, coming out in the clutch and then Cherrim supporting it, and that was a perfect demonstration of Scarf Entei specifically. So, yeah, glad Entei could put in work, and that's one of the reasons why it's really good into Calyrex specifically. So, let's look for another game here. Third game of the day, and it is Kyogre Tsareena. Oh, boy. So this reminds me a lot of Santi's matchup against Wolfe, and Santi definitely had the upper edge, especially because this Tsareena had Taunt. Ugh. Now, this is an ugly one. But that's the reality, right? If you're using Groudon, Kyogre is not going to be easy to go up against. What makes this harder, though, is that they have Stakataka and Amoonguss, meaning that I can't even safely go the Trick Room route. I feel like I should still, though. I feel like, yeah, in so many of my losses lately, it's just like, with not just this team, but multiple teams, it's because I don't, like, get the proper Trick Room speed control up. And we do have Iron Ball on Groudon, but the thing is, min speed Amoonguss, Stakataka will still outpace us. Surely they have Taunt on one of Tornadus, Tsareena, and Incineroar, right? I'd be shocked if none of them had it. I don't know about this one. I feel like Incineroar is relatively useless, so I want to go Zapdos, Dusclops, Cherrim, Groudon. Both Entei and Incin just feel pretty weird into the Kyogre matchup, and they don't do substantial damage either, so yeah. What if I went Cherrim? Cherrim Dusclops is the weirdest lead, because it just doesn't put on any offensive pressure, and you're basically forced to switch something out. You're not forced to, but you're not going to get much if you don't switch out turn 1 on some end. So, yeah, let's see. Or an Ogre. Okay. Yeah, I mean, a big question here is, do you have a Taunt on Tornadus turn 1? Pick Waters. Because if you have Taunt... Truth be told, the play I'm leaning towards turn 1 is Thunderbolting into Kyogre. Switching into Groudon feels so bad, but it enables Zapdos. And I feel like Zapdos is actually maybe the win condition in this matchup. I just like, I don't know, I feel like you don't lead Tornadus Kyogre unless you have Taunt, because otherwise it's like you're not covering for Trick Room. And maybe that's just a hard read on there, and if so, props to them. But the reality is like, oh, that's really interesting. You know what? This is actually pretty good for us then. Because I can Weather Ball Blades Amoonguss next turn. Yeah, so this is also why I don't feel great about just setting up Trick Room, right? Because Amoonguss can just come in and click Spore. Okay. Now the question is, how fast is your Amoonguss? Oh, that para actually might be a big deal because we're Iron Ball. So now I can actually press this Blades with full confidence rather than having to play around it. That's a pretty big deal. I would think they're min speed on their team, but I can't say that with 100% confidence. I'm going to Weather Ball Amoonguss here and Blades. You could switch Torn into Kyogre right now. But now I know your Kyogre isn't Scarf, and if you switch Torn into Kyogre, then I'd get a Precipice Blades off against you. But then Weather Ball and Blades probably doesn't KO Amoonguss. The other thing to consider in this matchup is that our Cherrim would actually be really important offensive. Is that Kyogre coming in? Yeah, maybe I should have just T-bolted the Tornadus slot and protected Groudon this turn. But, oh yeah, you can't even Rage Powder that, so I do think that is the play, probably. Okay, even if Groudon gets put to sleep here, because we're Goggles on Zapdos, it's actually not that bad. Not terrible damage. Oh no. Okay, it's fine. I mean, obviously I don't love missing there, but that's so much damage from Blades. And they Spore into Zapdos. Yeah, the Goggle Zapdos is the game changer here. Now if you're my opponent, you have to protect the Kyogre and then likely pivot out Amoonguss. I think I always want to T-Bolt into Kyogre. And I actually love switching to Cherrim here because this means you can't Spore me either. So even if you pivot Amoonguss out into Tornadus and protect Kyogre, your Kyogre's just taking so much damage at this point. Spore into Groudon would have made things a lot harder, but this has gone basically as well as possible for what is not the easiest matchup. Okay, Charm's out. This is perfectly fine because it's probably Spore, but that's fine. Because now Kyogre is basically forced to switch out this next turn. Yep. This is where bringing Cherrim is also a huge factor, because Amoonguss is useless against us right now. So what I can do is Thunderbolt into Kyogre. You'd have to switch out. Who's the best switching into T-Bolt? It'd be Stakataka, Incin, and Tsareena. Which of those are most likely to come out in the back here? Probably Incineroar if I had to guess. I don't really need to do anything with Cherrim here, right? I mean, Solar Blade takes a turn to charge up anyway. I'm down for chip damage with Pollen Puff, though, because it would break a Tornadus Sash if Kyogre switches out here. If Kyogre switches... I mean, if Tornadus switches in... Yeah, it's Incin. That always, I think, has to be your last one. But that's okay. Weather Ball into that slot actually would have been a really cool play, and in retrospect, I kind of wish I went for that, but to be honest, right now this Zapdos is just unmatched. My opponent cannot deal with it. Okay, a little bit of chip there. Ooh, nice self-Pollen Puff though. Love that play on their end. Well done. They know I have Weather Ball, so you should fake out into Zapdos, but then what is Amoonguss really going to do anyway? So I am just going to go Helping Hand Weather Ball. Because even if they make the 100% correct play, which is to fake out Zapdos, I don't really care because Amoonguss at best breaks my Sash on Cherrim. And they do not respect the Weather Ball. I wonder if this just KOs in the rain with Helping Hand. Oh. It was close, it was close. Yeah, I don't think I can expect Zapdos to pick up that KO, but that's still pretty darn neat. They forgot about Goggles, I guess. Yeah, I mean that's gonna put them in a really bad position because the Goggles just makes this Amoonguss so sad right now. Like they can't do anything around it, right? And here's the thing. My opponent having Amoonguss on the field actually benefits us because this thing is useless right now. It doesn't do anything for my opponent. So this is effectively a 2v1 because both Zapdos and Cherrim are so good into the rest of my opponent's team. So I can just T-Bolt into the Incin slot now. And I will just Pollen Puff it as well. Once again, just covering for Tornadus switch in, so I pick up a knockout onto it if you switch out. They actually are going to commit the switch. Yep, it is Tornadus. We might not actually KO because of the Snarl, but that's fine. Like, once again, this Amoonguss is just completely useless. I've done so much damage to everything on my opponent's team already, which is fantastic. Hey, there's Pollen Puff. It's really the safety goggles. If we didn't have goggles on the Zapdos, we get a pair there. I don't really think it matters. We've seen Pollen Puff, Spore should be Rage Powder, and then typically Protect or Grass type of sludge. Like, I guess you could Pollen Puff Cherrim. That's scary. And I honestly want to just stay in with both Pokemon right now because my opponent just has no Zapdos answer. So here, I'm willing to just Thunderbolt into the Tornadus. And sure, we can heal up Zapdos ever so slightly. Yeah. I think this should be 100% win as long as we don't make any major mistakes. Because at this point, the Incineroar is super low, and Kyogre is one Thunderbolt away from getting knocked out as well. And once again, I have Goggles, and this Amoonguss is still just not doing anything for my opponent. So what I can do this next turn is pivot Cherrim out into Groudon. Cherrim was so essential here. I just realized how much it looks like an eggplant, which is funny. They just keep sporing, and I think they're trying to catch me to switch out, but I have no reason to switch out right now. That's how I lose the game, right? I will win if I just stay in and make sure this Amoonguss is completely useless. Now this next turn is interesting because finally there is actually the potential for me to switch. Now what I like doing this next turn is just double protecting to scout out for if Kyogre wants to... Yeah, I want to bait out a protect from it basically. But detect plus protect here, super safe. Then what I can do the following turn is switch the Cherrim out into Groudon, Thunderbolt into Kyogre. Looks like Kyogre is going to opt to attack here. So good on them. They could still potentially attack this next turn. Be Scald into the Zapdos slot and Spore into Cherrim. Oh, actually, I didn't respect the Pollen Puff option. Nicely done. Nicely done. That actually does change things a little bit, I think. I don't want to switch Groudon into a Scald. That actually changes a lot. I didn't respect the Pollen Puff last turn. I should have Thunderbolted immediately. Yeah, I misplayed there. Okay, I'm going to Thunderbolt into Kyogre here and switch out into Groudon. The thing is that my opponent still lacks damage output. Oh, that's interesting. The thing with this is you do gain weather control for a turn, and you're probably going to Spore Groudon. But the thing is, I will have weather control for the remainder of the match. I actually think that's a fantastic play, though, so nicely done. The other play I was thinking was switching Zapdos out into Groudon and then going for Solar Blade onto Kyogre. Which, by the way, now Cherrim is actually a pretty good late-game offensive option into my opponent's team as well. This is a nice play by them, though. I really like that. But once again, it's just Goggles making our life a little bit easier right now. And unfortunately for them, they actually get paralyzed on Amoonguss, so that's where that initial paralysis comes up huge. I actually think my opponent made the best possible play this last turn, but unfortunately gets punished by a lucky turn 1 from us. That is going to make the game really difficult for them, to be honest. If they had Spored Groudon, I think, well, to be honest, I don't even think I'm using, I say to be honest so much. I don't think I'm even really using Groudon in this endgame anyway, but now it's nearly impossible to win, I think. But honestly, props to them, because I think they played this the last couple turns really well. Dusclops is useless for us at this point, so I'm going to switch that in, and then what I can do is get Groudon in safely for full weather control in this match. You can see, though, if Zapdos didn't have safety goggles, this would be a completely different matchup. And Amoonguss is Mentor. Okay. Yeah, you would think they were sporing the Groudon slot last turn, so it's obviously a very, very lucky paralysis. But like I said, I don't think I actually need Groudon to win the game. Like, I don't need Groudon to attack at this point, because Cherrim and Zapdos already do enough for me. But Pollen Puff is a really nice move on Amoonguss, and Paul Ruiz had it on his Xerneas team, and it was very, very clutch for him. Key thing here is that Tailwind is finally petered out. Now, what I want to do is basically force this to be a... Like, Amoonguss can continuously heal up the Kyogre, so I'm actually going to just attack around the Kyogre because I gain full weather control now. If I bring in the Groudon, well, first of all, your Kyogre does less damage. My goal is to just knock out Amoonguss, so then Cherrim can come in and just Solar Blade the Kyogre for a KO. So, yeah, let's say they had not got him paralyzed earlier. Groudon, like, I'm not planning on attacking with Groudon really anyway, because Zapdos is the win con against both of these Pokemon. But maybe they just end up sporing into the Groudon slot here anyway. Okay, great damage from Weather Ball. They actually have for Scald rather than Water Spout. It's even better for us, because it means Groudon takes no damage on the switch. Yeah, and they continuously Pollen Puff. So here's the thing, right? That's exactly why I'm not targeting Kyogre. Oh, anytime you're up against things like in Heal in VGC, you have to think twice, because a lot of your damage can just be mitigated. And in this game, I have very little incentive right now to target Kyogre, especially after gaining Weather Control. Amoonguss finally reveals that it has Protect, but it's fine, because Zapdos would just KO it next turn, and Kyogre's really not that threatening right now. Probably gonna get a Water Spout off, but the thing is, this is why I felt so confident with the Zapdos endgame. I can roost with this thing. This thing just completely invalidates Amoonguss. Is that a double crit? Well, it's okay. It's really okay. I have not seen that in quite a while, though, I have to say. How many turns of Sun are left? 3. It is actually potentially losable now. I don't know if Solar Blade's a 1-hit KO onto Kyogre. Because Amoonguss protected, I think it's fine to just Weather Ball into Amoonguss, which should be a KO, and then Solar Blade into Kyogre. But wow, double critical hit. Zapdos fainted there, we'd actually be in a lot of trouble. Should KO, right? Okay. Oh, we're still good then. Jeez, though. This reminds me a lot of Game 3 yesterday, though, right? Game 3, I got so lucky and I still lost, and it's because my opponent just, like, had a good matchup and executed the matchup really well. And this is the thing that you want to play around, right? Like, oh, Cherrim gets the 1-hit KO. That's such a fitting end with our time with this team for Cherrim to just one-shot a restricted Pokemon, so that was awesome. Good job, Cherrim. You put in a lot of work here. But yeah, I did get a little bit lucky in that game, getting the turn 1 para into Amoonguss, and then Amoonguss not being able to attack that one turn I switched the Groudon in. The key thing here, though, was that Zapdos, specifically with the safety goggles, was so good, right? Like, Amoonguss was just completely useless, and not only was Amoonguss useless, but Zapdos would do so much damage, and all the Pokemon they brought there were really weak into Zapdos because we had Weather Ball. So we could T-Bolt the Tornadus, T-Bolt the Kyogre, Weather Ball into Incineroar. But the Pollen Puff play that they made was really, really sweet. So yeah, that was just a really fun game, honestly. And I'm wondering if their Tornadus had Taunt or Rain Dance. Both of those make the matchup pretty tricky. But the key thing is that my opponent bringing Amoonguss, I would say, honestly benefited us more than anything, because it was completely walled by both the Zapdos and the... I was going to say Maractus, and then I was going to say Lilligant. I was like, no, neither of those are the correct Pokemon I'm thinking about. Obviously, I'm talking about Cherrim here. But having used all these really interesting grass types recently, it's funny just mixing them all up. But this was a blast. I mean, I'm still thinking about Game 3 yesterday because I'm recording all of this in one day right now. And so I'm coming off just getting completely wrecked in Game 3. But yeah, I mean, like, everyone gets destroyed every now and then, and I just got hard outplayed in that one. I'm still thinking about it, but all things considered, this was a really fun one, and it's nice to go up against so many different restricted Pokemon. Like, we played 6 different restricteds in our time with this team. It was Zacian, Calyrex-S, Yveltal, Reshiram, Calyrex Shadow Rider, and then Kyogre. So, hey, if you run up against any of those restricted Pokemon, you have 6 different reference games for material. I think that's pretty neat. So, thanks so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Thanks once again to Wolfe for the team. Details are in the description below. Feel free to try it out yourselves. Leave a like if you enjoy, and I'll see you all next time. All right, peace.